Good morning, everyone. I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for the 5th day of May, 2020. Well, I started this once, and I don't know. My mind wandered. I couldn't get into it, so I'm going to start all over again. New cards, new spread. Today's the 5th. I got up super early because we went to the grocery store. We went during senior and vulnerable persons hour. There we go. And up at the local Safeway. And I noticed this time that they had signs on the floor. One way, this way, one way, one way. Could only go one way on the floor, so down the aisles. So that was good. Not so many people milling about it by the check stands this time like it was last time. That's good too. That was a little unnerving to make it through my shopping experience and only to get up there to check out and having everybody this far away from one another. It was ridiculous. And I just spoke out, of course. And I'm like, yeah, I don't like this. This is too close. And suddenly people just started being a little more aware of what was going on. We weren't able to move a whole lot, but we were able to move a little bit. So, but today that wasn't the case. We just, waited until people were done, and then we put our stuff up, and it was fine. So, Moon's in the 5th house Libra right now still, I believe. Let me look. I remember from what I said before. Yeah, so we're going to seek peace and harmony and have fun with others today. Today's my husband and my 41st wedding anniversary, so we celebrate it by going grocery shopping. We'll be working more in the garden today and doing some more things. I have to get my some area in the dome ready for potatoes and onions, and also I have to my cauliflower. I just put it out in the greenhouse. I took it out from under lights and I put it out in the greenhouse so it can harden off a little bit out there for a couple of days. Wednesday night is supposed to get down to like I don't know, 29 degrees or something. So I'm not going to put them out yet. But I have them out in the greenhouse, so they're out there now. And then probably Friday I'll go ahead and plant them if the bed's ready out there in the dome for them. So that's what we'll be doing here. And then we'll probably have a barbecue or something. We'll probably grill something tonight for dinner, and that's usually what we do. We don't go out or anything. We just hang around and barbecue something and have it. And that's when in 2017 when our well went dry, my husband was dealing with that because he's our system operator for our community well, and we didn't celebrate it at all because that was our anniversary was the day that we found out that our pump was bad and that we needed a new well and all of that. So it's like, oh my God, he was out there and I'm sitting there going, okay, so we're not going to do anniversary, are we? So we skipped it that year. But in any event, Moon trine Venus, today's a day to give and receive lots of love. So Cinco de Mayo and all of that. If you're having a Cinco de Mayo party, maybe in your neighborhood, you're doing it, in your own driveways and you're not next to one another, maybe. That might be something you could do, some kind of block party or something to get outside safely. But again, keep your own distance, stay in your own spot, and then everybody can just be out around and having fun. So we'll see if we hear any of that today. We've got some Hispanic neighbors that usually on Cinco de Mayo, the music plays and the parties happen, but we'll see what happens this year. It's festive and it's fun and it's wonderful and the smells coming from their place. My God, I mean, it makes you drool. So anyway, it was the day that was available. It wasn't intentional to choose Cinco de Mayo. It was simply the next day that the lady who was the female justice of the peace in Washington County here we were living in Beaverton. That was the next time she was ready. So next available Saturday she had. So it was that day. So anyway. Mostly, Sun's 11th house Taurus, we're reflecting on foundational or structural concerns still. checking in with people, finding out how are they doing, how are they handling this, how are they, how if you've got kids at home, don't worry about their education. Just don't worry about it. Okay, I'm a homeschool mom, and I'm going to tell you right now, this whole school thing is a choice to do it the way we do it. Okay, it's simply a choice. It's not a necessity. It's not a requirement. Your kids could sit back and do nothing but watch educational television all day. The Discovery Channel, the Learning Channel, I'm assuming that's still around, the History Channel, all of that, and they would do fine. They're going to want to naturally learn things. It's just something that they do. And until you understand that by homeschooling, you don't realize it. You think school is something that's done to them. Well, it isn't. Children are natural learners. We all are. And your kids are going to be fine. They're with you. So why wouldn't they be? So in any event, I think that, let's see, let me just look here really quickly, because I don't think we're reevaluating some eighth house stuff, Jupiter, Saturn, one other. Who else was in that? Was it Pluto? Yeah, Pluto, eighth house Capricorn, Saturn, eighth house Aquarius, Jupiter, eighth house Capricorn. We're looking at, eighth house is about joint projects. It's about sex. It's about sexual relationships. It's about death. So in terms of Saturn, eighth house Aquarius, we're going, unfortunately, with respect to how people are dying and how we're dealing with all of that, things are going to be done in an alternative way. And so perceptions are surrounding how we deal with funerals and what we're able to be a part of and what we're not now. How that unfolds is changing, and we just need to be okay with that. So, whatever concerns you have, let them go. You can always return to whatever you do later. But for now, we're just in uncharted waters, and we're kind of making it up as we go along, and we're hopefully erring on the side of caution and protection and safety. So that's really, today, the fifth month, the 5 energy for the day, we're talking ways to protect ourselves and a focus on protection and safety and getting through this. So in any event, let's go ahead and get on with the reading. They're just really, everything's pretty much the same. Just in terms of thinking outside the box and dropping resistance to what's happening right now, and allowing for something else to be possible. That may be the focus then for the day. So let's go ahead and take our first 3 cards and see what we have. I'm going to take, if you haven't been here before, I'll take the 13th card each time for randomness sake. We may take a 4th, we might take a 5th. Otherwise, we'll go on to the rune and look at the Elder Futhark rune for the day, and we'll close out with the geomancy rune. So let's go ahead and look at our first 3 cards. And if you haven't yet, I'd love you to click subscribe and come back. I do this 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday. So it's not that big of a commitment. We have the 7 of Wands. Yeah. I don't know. An interesting sense of balance here. We're standing our ground. I guess it depends on how you see that. If you're in the personal sovereignty column, then you don't see this as something that is here to protect us. You see this as something that is harming your personal sovereignty. You don't see this as a problem. You think that it's no different than the flu. Well, you're wrong. You're just wrong. So I don't know who this is. We'll see. Let's see what the other cards say. Maybe we'll get an idea of what his perspective is. I kind of look at it as, how are we going to survive? Are we going to in other words, how much of this are we going to have to do and defend against just to survive? There's a video going around of a guy in a dollar store. The staff person's there, and they're requiring that you wear masks to come in. Somehow or another, he got in there without it. And she nicely told him, "Sir, you have to have a mask on to be in here." He walked up to her, he grabbed her arm, and he wiped his nose on her sleeve. Oh, yes, he did. Yeah, I just don't know. Again, who are we fighting against? Ignorance, maybe? I don't know. Here we have Judgment. Here this last week, the 20th card of the Major Arcana. Yeah, we're going to talk about that. The 7's going to be an interesting one, isn't it? We'll see if we get another major card. But, Judgment's about awakening. Got to wake up here. This notion of letting it wash over the country, that's nonsense. That's going to cause people to die. People that didn't need to. We might have been able to get on the other side of this had we started earlier in the year, like the 1st of February. I went back through my day timer. I have a single page per day, or actually 2 pages per day. So every so often I have to pull months out so I can put more in. And I was doing that the other day. And I went and I looked back to see when did I start mentioning it in my journal, in my day timer. And the first time I mentioned it was on January 26th. And then I thought that we started locking down after we bought the chicks. We bought those on February 21st. We're replenishing our chicken supply because our big girls, they're a little older. And so we don't know when we sell eggs. And so we didn't know when they were going to start not producing as much. And so we wanted to get ahead of the game and get some new chicks. And so we did. We did that on February 21st. Well, I was thinking it was after that we locked down. Well, it wasn't. It was February 1st. Okay, that's when we did it. I wrote in there, okay, this is the last time. We're going to be doing every 2-week shopping. We're not going to be going out. We're going to see where this goes. We hadn't yet gotten to the masks yet. As soon as it started coming online, the patterns came online, I started making masks. I just made 2 more that we tried out today, and they worked well. I don't know. This has just been something that had we gotten ahead of this early on, things might be better. I mean, let's face it, because Oregon, where we are, we're actually doing pretty well. And hopefully that will continue. We didn't lock down as soon as I would have been comfortable. It was 1st of March, I guess, first part of March, but still we did. And even though it doesn't really appear like people are locking down here where we live, I think enough people are staying home that it's keeping the numbers down. Now, obviously, we live in a more rural area, but over here on this side of the state is more rural. It's along the I-5 corridor where all the big cities are, Portland and Salem and Eugene and, and all of that. But, and that's where you're going to see the biggest concentration. But even with that, the numbers are lessening. So I don't know, whatever we're doing here is working, but we'll see. It's if people don't stay vigilant, that's how we get into the trouble that we're in. So we need to awaken, don't we? To see the bigger picture of things. Yeah, lest we have, the 5 of Cups and loss. He can't see the 2 behind him that are still standing. The other 3 are knocked over. This is grief and loss. Something has changed. We might need another card, but let's go ahead and talk about these for now. So we have the 7. We have a 7 and 5 is 12, so that's 3, and 2 is 5. So again, it aligns today with safety and protection and change. Now, let's talk about Judgment first. You can move your cards around, by the way. Judgment, if I had say, two majors, I might have had something else as the center card. Or I might have used the 2 majors as the focal point. I don't know. Or then the 3rd card would have been the focus for the energy. So anyway, we'll look at the at Judgment as the card of spirit that's informing people and allowing people to wake up and understand the truth. You, of course, don't want to do that after you've died, of course. Hopefully you'll get there a little sooner. But here we have everybody rising up out of their coffins as Gabriel blows his horn. We see the cross of healing. But it's not just that. We've talked about this before, and I'm going to draw this out for you. It's really indicative of the focus into form. Now, focus into form, we're not just simply plopped out like a chicken egg, right? If we are not focused into form at any given moment, if our soul is not focusing in at every given moment, the body dies. And so then we're no longer in here, right? So there's your cross. And what we have, this is polarity. This is vertical polarity and horizontal polarity. This is also the line of the abyss, this horizontal line. Ideally, if we could hover just below that, then we would be more aware of spirit. Technically and traditionally, we hover there, the bottom. But the bottom line is we want to increase our frequency higher and be aware of our source presence so that we hover more at or below. We're not going to hover above. The adepts might, but then they're smart enough not to be informed. But in any event, we're talking about spiritual awareness. We are not the body. We are soul at all times. No matter what we look like, we're only in the body so that we can learn about things that are tangible in nature. Okay. Source energy, source presence, the creator, God, whatever you want to, the great mother, whatever you want to term the energy that creates everything, not that created, but creates everything, because it's always an ongoing process. It doesn't matter how you conceive of that. In my view, the creator is all that is. And so if that's true, then everything you see around you is manifestation of the creator's thought process. And that's based on love. And so through love, this all came to be. But when we deal with judgment, it's not some kind of reckoning. It's awakening. It's resting before the next go around, wherever we decide we want to go. Whether we ascend to higher dimensions or whether we come back here and try to do it all over again. Right now, humanity's and the earth is in an ascension track. And so likely whatever happens here in the future will look very differently as things raise in frequency. Whether or not we choose to come back here in terms of our own lifetimes or whether we choose to go somewhere else, we'll make that choice at that time. But it's that awakening to the greater picture, to the greater understanding of things that we can extrapolate to what's going on now in our lives, where you have people who don't see this as a problem. They don't see it as the problem that it is. They want to argue about how it got started. It doesn't matter right now. What matters is that we deal with it and that we deal with it appropriately. And we haven't been. Well, the states are trying to, but they're being thwarted at every turn by the guy in the Oval Office and his son-in-law. And you have to ask yourself, how many people will go to prison for all of this? Because they need to. Because the question is that we're dealing with, and I'm going to hold both of these up at the same time. Who is the struggle against? If we're struggling against our own demons and our own inability to see the bigger picture here, then we're going to experience loss, some change that results in loss. Maybe, Dr. Burks, I said this yesterday, not a fan of this woman. I'm just not sure where her loyalties truly lie. I think that she's gotten a little bit confused, or maybe this is just what happens when you believe the way she does, and then she's forced to talk, and oh my goodness, I don't know. But she said, the problem with going out to the beaches and not socially distancing and doing all of this is maybe you get the virus, you don't know it, you don't know you have it for a while. And then you go home and you see your grandmother and grandma gets it and grandma dies. Maybe you don't die from it, but maybe grandma does. So was the beach trip worth it? Now you're going to have some lunatics that are saying, oh yeah, it's worth it, absolutely. No, it isn't. It's not okay to allow a segment of the population whether it's persons of color or an older population. It's not okay to say that we are expendable. It just isn't. I don't know why some people don't know that, but they don't. And so that may be the struggle that you're dealing with here. Is it really, are we really trying to find an inner balance, or are we trying to find a balance with each other? But just who is it that we're battling, Are we battling forces that are trying to harm us? Well, certainly. Or is it the internal struggle that we're trying to balance so that we can see the bigger picture and awaken to the truth? Because if we don't, the consequences are going to be loss and change that maybe you're just not ready for, not prepared for. Let's go ahead and see where we at on time. Yeah, let's go ahead and do the rune. I think that right now we're dealing with awakening to truth and understanding. I think that the 5 energy of both the, did this end up being 5? 3, no. Let's see, 7 and 2. 7 and 2 is 9 and 5. Oh yeah, no, it was 5. 9 and 5 is 14. Yeah. I'm having to do this in the dark and having to read Roman numerals and have them like focus. Yeah, that's a 7. It's like, oh, everything blurs. I broke my glasses and I had to use another pair. And so I got some glasses coming from Costco. I don't think they get here till the 8th. So I have one more pair after this. Actually, I have 2 more pairs. But the other that I have, it's those rimless ones, and it's like the edges distort everything. It's weird. And I paid like $20 for them, and I don't know. They're just readers, but still. I don't like having to pay a whole lot of money for something that's just simply not going to work. It seemed fine in the store, but then I get home and there's movement, and it's weird. It makes me dizzy. Anyway, all ye's is the rune for today. We're talking higher self-influence, the 15th rune of the Elder Futhark, so 6 energy. You can think elk protection. You can think this looks like the antlers on an elk. It can also symbolize the elk sedge, the sedge that they walk through in the marshlands. It tends to be quite protective because it's tall and they sink down in when they're walking, and so they can be pretty well protected from the elk sedge as well. But basically, what we're looking at with all ye's is protection. If you were to look at it and draw it out to see its necessary components, you're basically looking at Isa and Kenaz. So you would be looking at Isa here and Kenaz. And again, directionality matters. You can draw down from spirit. This could be an invocation where you're raising your arms in supplication and invoking all ye's. Drawing. It's basically the connection between spirit and form. You can think of it as the Bifrost Bridge or the Rainbow Bridge to higher consciousness. But here you're looking at Isa over here, the single line. The Norn rune of the static realm or the present moment and alignment in source presence. And then you're also looking at Kenaz turned this way as opposed to this way like it normally is. But here you have it either bringing things down from spirit into form, or you're interacting. It's a two-way street, basically. So you're letting that spirit interaction guide you and guide your decisions. I think that the only way that we understand the greater picture is if we start thinking about that cross right there and where we are placed on it. Are we close to the abyss? Are we there to where we understand that, and we're no longer forgetting that we are in fact spirit, that we're these souls inhabiting these bodies, that we're not, when they talk about souls to the polls, where you're taking people to go vote, they recognize that this is a spiritual experience, that we are not just these individuals, but that we're in fact souls that are casting a vote, that are going to determine the future. So it matters, right? I've always loved that. I've always loved that expression, souls to the polls. And now all you see are Republicans trying to create more and more voter suppression so that they can be reelected. Because when you don't have the vote suppressed, it's a little hard for them, isn't it, to get reelected? It's called cheating. Yeah, it is. But I think that that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about letting spirit inform this whole process, whether it's, trying to deal with the people that want to wipe their nose on your sleeve at a dollar store, or here's the other one. I mean, that's going to be bad enough, all right? But then you have the girl that came up to another store, and it might have been another dollar store, I don't know. And I'm not sure. And the guard outside, the security guard is like, no, you got to have a mask. And she freaks out, right? I think she spit on him is what I read. And she goes home. She gets her dad. Dad comes back and kills him. Yeah. So who are we fighting? And for what purpose? Because the end result's going to be this. Okay? Got to wake up. Got to let spirit inform the whole process. Let's see what we have here today. We had Vaya yesterday. Oh, well, we got caught at Draconis. Here's the thing. There are technically eight geomancy glyphs or runes or symbols. But there's actually 16 because you're looking at the complement. Well, the Draconi, Kata and Caput, deal with the nodes of the moon. So Kata deals with the south node or the end of the matter or endings or karma, whereas Caput Draconis deals with the head of the dragon. Kata is the tail of the dragon. So Caput would be the present moment or the future. But right now we've been getting here's the thing. All right. Geomancers of old, if they threw down and created Kata Draconis, Carcer, or Rubius, you were to destroy the reading. I mean, the whole thing, everything. Get rid of it all, bury it, burn it, whatever, because it's too evil to continue. Well, I say that's ridiculous, and that male geomancers of old were a little snowflakey. Okay? We don't need to be fearing those kinds of things. All that Kata Draconis is talking about is the effect of karma on our behavior. Whatever we brought in to this experience, this life experience from other life experiences, that's your karma. All right. And whatever lessons, maybe we were an oppressor in another life, and here we've chosen to be a victim to see what that's like. So we have the karma of the oppressor coming in and sort of coloring what we do and how we do it. Right. So maybe a better understanding is required of the oppressor role. And the only way to understand it is to be the victim on that side of things. So it's all a lesson. It's not something that's forever carved in stone. It's like wherever Chiron is, it's a place of healing, not a place where you are now this wounded individual in these ways and it's that way forever. It's a way to learn to say, okay, that's an area where I need to transmute that into something else, into a higher frequency of experience or of vibration. And so that's really, all that Kata Draconis is asking us to do is to pay attention to how the past influences the present and then make a different choice. One that resonates in a higher frequency, one that resonates in source presence, one that resonates in higher self. So that's really what this is saying. So rather than struggling both internally and externally with self and others, rather than standing in front of a first responder, such as a nurse, who's maybe 100 pounds soaking wet, with her arms folded and in a mask, standing her ground on her off time, on her lunch hour, whatever, in front of the hospital, instead of some big, tough-looking, biker-looking dude coming over and standing there looking at her, saying Lord knows what, trying to intimidate, trying to invoke a standoff. Struggle in your own self. Find your own balance. Do it before there's loss that you cannot undo. If you can't do it for yourself, do it for someone else. It's very simple. I saw a tweet where someone said, it was a doctor, you know, if you can't wear a mask for me, wear it for my 18-month-old child. Right? So that's it. You know, I guess we need to awaken. We need to understand what the bigger picture is. And Judgment's asking us to do that, to balance whatever confusion that we might be experiencing over what this is, and find your way back to shared purpose with people that are trying to survive, so that you don't experience the kind of change and loss that people are having to experience. You can't go hold their hand. You can't be with them. You have to make a choice between a closed casket and a cremation. Wouldn't it be better to not have to deal with it at all? So think about that, you know, on this day of change. You know, I look at the longevity of my marriage and know that anything could happen. And so it's not okay to think that certain segments of the population are expendable. The notion of letting something like this wash over the country so that we all get a herd immunity, it's looking like that may not happen. And what if those cases are going to be the truth of this? It could just be isolated cases where they get it again. They test negative and then a week later they're positive. How did that happen? Because if they're getting reinfected, then herd immunity is not maybe going to be part of this. If it's not, then we have to wait for a vaccine. So stay home. Stay protected. Wear a mask. Wear gloves. Socially distance. I say more than 6 feet, but that's just me. You know, at least 6 feet. Make choices that are geared towards safety and protection. And survive. So come back tomorrow, click subscribe. I'd love you to do that. This will go up over at Stepping Aside, and also the correspondences and astrological information will go up. That'll be for noon. I do those for noon every day. Also, esoteric influences for the week are up over there at Stepping Aside. There's also some affiliate specials. I have a stickied up there toward the top. When you get to Stepping Aside at imsteppingaside.com, there's some stickied stuff, and you have to scroll down to where the current posts are. But one of the things I've been doing, I set it up and then I wasn't being real responsible about it, but I'm an affiliate marketer, and so I have an affiliate section. And what I did for the month of May, I went through all of my people, all of my companies, and I put what their specials are with clickable links to everything, so it can just give you an idea. That was the goal of that section. And then that way, there's also affiliate pages in the affiliate section. If you look up at the menu, you'll see affiliates, and you can click on that and you'll see this menu that drops down. And in each category, if you look, you'll see different ones. And so you can get an idea of some of the places I promote. But the bottom line is I wanted to have a place for affiliate specials. And so I have that page, and I finally got it right for this month. And so as more little minor things come up, I might put them there, or I might just tweet them out or something. But just check those out and see if there's anything you're interested in. Know that as an affiliate, I earn a little commission off of any sale. And so that just helps defray some blog costs. So in any event, thanks so much for watching. Come back tomorrow, click subscribe, and do check out my blog. Be good to yourself, be good to one another, and blessed be.